Good evening. Welcome to the School Board Candidate Forum, sponsored by the Carroll Chamber of Commerce and Carroll Area Development Corporation. My name is Rick Hunsaker. I'm the Executive Director at Region 12 Council of Governments and a CADC board member. I will be your moderator this evening. Joining us is Matt Miners, Economic Vitality Director at the Carroll Chamber and CADC, and Hubert Hageman, our timekeeper, and members of the Carroll Chamber of Commerce and CADC Legislative Committee. We are pleased to bring you tonight the candidates for school board for the Carroll Community School District who will be on the ballot Tuesday, November 2nd, next Tuesday. Our goal is to help voters get to know the candidates and allow the candidates an opportunity to present their views on issues important to citizens. Our thanks to the candidates for joining us this evening. I will have them introduce themselves here in just a moment. The forum is being broadcast live tonight on KCIM 1380 AM, 95.1 FM, and will also be aired on KCIM's YouTube channel, and there is a link to that on their Facebook page. I believe it also may be on Cat 6. The guidelines for tonight's forum have been shared with the candidate, and for your information, they are as follows. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. The order of the opening statements is based on a drawing of the names before the forum. Candidates will have 1.5 minutes to respond to questions, and they may elect, if they choose, not to answer a question that I ask. The moderator, me, will have the option of asking clarifying questions, which the candidate will then have an additional 30 seconds to respond. Strict adherence to the time schedule is necessary. When 15 seconds remains, our timekeeper will hold a red card in the area. A bell will be rung at the end of the time. Candidates will then finish their sentence. We received several questions in advance, and we do our best to work with questions from the audience, and we'll work those in if you present Matt with any of those. If you have a question you would like asked, please look for a committee member in the back for a note card on which to write your question, and I believe some of those were handed out beforehand. Each candidate will then have 2 minutes for closing remarks. We will be done in an hour. Candidates must treat each other with civility and respect. Personal attacks or endorsing other candidates will not be allowed. Candidates should also remember to address the audience with their answers. Also, I ask that everyone here in attendance turn off their phone. So with that, we'll get started with our first candidate, and by drawing, that would be Jen Munson.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Munson. Sorry, I'm not very good with microphones. I have a bachelor's degree in elementary education with an emphasis in math and science education. My husband John and I have 2 children in Carroll Community School District, actually at the high school. Drew, that's a senior, and Abby, that's a sophomore. They're over hiding in the corner, so trying not to draw attention to themselves. I'm currently the executive director for the United Way of Carroll and a small business owner with my husband. I've served on the board for 8 years. And I'm running because we still have a lot of work to do. And now that COVID is not gone, but we're concentrating on education, that we're ready to move forward and get that work done. I'm a conservative, and I believe it's an important election that could swing the balance of the board. And school boards are becoming hot button issues, and I want to make sure our district continues to focus on education. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Kristen Lundstrom.
My name is Kristen Lundstrom, and I am a Carroll transplant, is what everybody always calls us. I had moved here 7 years ago with my husband Joel, and my kids are not quietly in the corner hiding. They're dying to stand up and wave at everybody. So Tyson and Charlie, they are over there cheering me on very loudly. So very proud of their mom up here. Tyson is in high school and Charlie is in middle school. And my husband is the provost at DMAC, so everybody knows those 3, and I tend to hide in the back corner. So it's crazy that I'm up here doing this, but I just want to give back to the community that has done everything for our family since we moved here, and has embraced, especially those 2 boys over there, with open arms ever since we moved here. And We grew up in Perry, which is not far from here, so small town, loved the small community growing up. And we lived in Kansas, Manhattan, Kansas for 14 years while my husband slowly got his PhD. I run Carroll Summer Fun Camp. That is a camp that is developed for kids with special needs that integrates them in with typical peers. And that is a 6-week camp in the summer that's 5 days a week, all morning long. And we keep them busy and keep them active to try to help with any regression that they have over the summer. And then I also work for Heartland AEA as a FEP, which is basically a parent resource. So I'm kind of the mediator between the school and the parents. So
Thank you. Next, we'll hear Dwayne Horsley's opening statement.
Yes, thank you. First, I'd like to thank the Chamber, the CADC, the media for sponsoring this or helping us get the word out and let you get a chance to meet every one of the candidates here. Actually, being on the board now for 8 years, this is the first time we've actually had kind of a public forum because we never had a lot of people running, so that part's very good. Just a little bit about myself. I moved to Carroll in 1983 from a job that brought me to Carroll. It was giving me a red light to go dead. But we moved here in 1983, and my wife, Chris, is a native of Carroll. So we've been very involved in the Carroll School District. We're a blended family. We have 4 sons that attended Carroll High School, graduated all the Carroll schools, and I have a daughter also that attended kindergarten here, but graduated down in Ankeny. Our oldest son, Andrew, give you a perspective, graduated in 1998, Levi 2015, Seth 2013, and Caleb in 2015. So we've had tremendous involvement in the schools for many, many years. My wife, Crystal, also volunteered in the school many of those years when they're down in Fairview in those elementary levels. So one of the things I guess you might say is, why does somebody who doesn't have kids in the school want to run? Well, this school has gave our kids a great foundation, a great education. They're all very successful today, doing well. They're all on their own, paying all their own bills, and that's where we all as adults want to get our kids to be, where they're sustaining themselves. So with that history, I just felt like the quality of education here has been very, very good. I want to see that continue for your kids. I have actually 4 grandchildren now, or we have 4 grandchildren, and so we want to, obviously we have kids growing, we want to keep them going forward as well in good schools. I also still have a passion and desire to serve on this board. I took my time to decide, are you going to run? Do you want to run? And I had to settle that in my heart, and I did. I really, truly care about the district, kids, and I just have a passion, and I have the time I can commit to help and serve.
Thank you. And finally, Sal Sani Sidhu.
Hi, everyone. My name is Salisu Sani Seydou. I go by Sal. Make it easy for people to call me Sal. Some call me Coach Sal because I have kids here around. So I moved here in the U.S. in 2013. I went to Iowa Central Community College. I got my Associate Applied Science, Computer Network Technology. And I moved here in Carroll in 2015 before we got our first boy. I'm a truck driver, founder bucket. I would like to work here for, I'm saying general, everybody here in Carroll, not just for the kids. So I want to be like someone who people can say, yeah, he's going to get stuff done. So I always get stuff done. You give me something, don't worry about it. Before you realize it's already there. I'm almost away, almost done there. So I want to be in the community, help people here around this in Carroll.
Thank you. And now we'll start in with questions. And Sal, we'll start with you first. What is your vision for education in the Carroll Community School District?
My vision?
Yes.
Okay. In general, it's just about just school. It's about helping people. The time is changing. People can see time is changing. It's going faster. It's not waiting for us. Why not try to bring some stuff into the school so we can try, don't just give all those curriculum or classes to the kids, because they are the future, not us. So some classes, there's no need for those classes. Why not try to introduce some classes, not classes, but some like mental health issue the teacher can save their kids and talk about, hey, what's your point? What do you think about this? How do you, some classes, and if we see the strength for these students, why not just focus on that strength and just give it in junior classes, that reduce the stress from the teacher and the kids.
Thank you. Dwayne, what's your vision for the school district?
My vision for Carroll is going to be that we continue strong academics. We have a graduation rate here around 98%. We want to see that continue. The last several years we made secure entrances to all these buildings. Well, that's kind of a natural safety barrier. We want all these kids to feel safe. My vision for the school is that we have kids that are engaged. We have, not just strong academics, but we have a lot of kids involved with lots of extracurricular activities, from the sports to the arts to the music programs, and it's great when you see kids crossing over there. I want an environment in this district where those things are encouraged and welcomed. We have also, for myself, I see just an area we just can really improve on is someone is in communication. That does start at the board table. We've got, I think, area there we can kind of improve on, because sometimes people ask, I'm not sure what's going on or why things are done. And I do see this as a district, we can have a great communication. We as a district also need to help sell the Carroll community. This isn't just about Carroll High School or Carroll Public Schools. This is about selling the community of Carroll, and we're a part of that vision. But it all intertwines and is tangled together. The other thing is that, the vision I also have is that Carroll is a great place to raise a family. This is a great school to have your kids in.
Kristen, what's your vision for the school district?
I think we have a lot of similar ideas on that, where to keep up with what we're doing, but also keep up with the times of the ever-changing. Everything is changing, especially in the technology world. And I mean, Tiger Vision has been amazing to see that be able to prosper. And I think that, that's something that we just keep going with, and the ability to keep parents involved with the technology and keep the kids involved in what they can do after they graduate from here, and all the options that they would have beyond high school. It's not just graduate and go to four-year college and get your master's, get your PhD. There's a lot of different options for them. And that's all changing from when I was in school. Everybody just went to college. So I think that we need to keep up with that. I also think we need to continue to grow Carroll and get young families to stay, young teachers to stay, get them to stop commuting from communities around here, and get them to move here and stay here and continue with our kids. So I think that's about it.
Thank you. And Jen, your vision?
Well, my vision is that everyone can achieve at the highest level possible for them as an individual. And it goes along with our vision statement for our district that everybody should leave with a meaningful diploma. I've been blessed to watch many kids leave this district and do great things, and I want that to continue. We need to continue to grow and evolve as times change, evolve the curriculum, the offerings of courses, to meet the needs of the kids. Things that I would like to see change, maybe, I don't want to say weakness, but things that we can improve on would be communication, like Dwayne said, with especially the website. Our website is horrible to use. We need to work on that. And recruiting and retaining those quality staff members. Our biggest asset is those staff members. We need to find a better way to sell our district in these times that there's employee shortages everywhere. We need to continue to look for new ways to grow academically and meet the ever-changing needs of the students while giving support needed to the staff.
Thank you. And just so you're ready, Jen, this question's going to go to you first, just so that we mix up this order a little bit, going back and forth in case the audience is wondering. It's not, going from one end to the other, so there's no specific formula here. My question is about readying kids post-secondary. I get to work with a lot of companies. We have a lot of job openings. In Carroll, we hear from companies sometimes that students aren't ready to work at the jobs that they're at. So what additional steps need to be taken to ready students for post-graduation, either entry into the workforce, attending a community college or technical school, a four-year college, apprenticeships, or even opening their own business? What incentives or initiatives can be made with businesses or economic development officials to the benefit of both the student and to local companies?
That's interesting because that's something I've been talking about the last 2 months at the board table. I feel very passionate that we need to get our kids out there, especially the juniors and seniors, and give them the ability to do internships and work studies and find out what they like. Maybe they aren't college bound. Maybe they find a career here in a journeyman area, and that's great. My father was an architect by degree and never used it, owned his own construction company, and says, I made a lot more money doing that than I did as an architect, than I would have as an architect. But we need to give these kids experience to get out into the world and know what they want to do before they leave the doors. I also think it's important that we have a 7-class minimum here at the high school, that the kids have to be enrolled in 7 classes. And that's really hard to do when you have juniors and seniors, especially seniors, that only need 1 class to graduate. I rather have them out working, filling those jobs that our workforce definitely needs. I can guarantee you, if they go work at McDonald's for 6 months, they won't want to work there their whole lives. So to get them out and working and filling those jobs, but also getting life experience, which they desperately need.
Thank you. Kristen, what additional steps do you think can be done to ready students for whatever career they choose post-graduation?
I mean, I do want to give credit to what they are already doing, because I do think that our kids are leaving here with good choices and good educations and lots of options of things to do. I do think that we are very, very lucky in Carroll to have DMAC right here in town, that we can learn a lot of things and have classes, and I think there's a good relationship between the school and DMAC and getting what we need from them. I know there's a lot of opportunities that have been given that haven't always worked out, and I think that that could be something that we could look forward to, working together on, seeing what all those options are and get some new ones going. And I do think that things are changing, and I think that it's definitely worth looking into different options of work study and things like that that she has talked about at those meetings. because, you know, kids are going to work. I do think it's really hard to decide at 18 what you want to do for the rest of your life. So, you know, figuring it out and trying things out is the best thing that we can do for them.
Thank you. And Dwayne, any additional steps you think that need to be taken to ready students for a career post-high school?
I want to answer this kind of first to give you a little historical perspective. I think the last year we saw the where kids were doing, about a third of them were going to a four-year college, about a third were going to two-year, some type of a school, trade school, and about a third of the kids are going straight into the workforce. You know, that's changed. When I was in younger days looking at college, it was like everybody said, go to college, get that degree, get the job, et cetera. So that's all changed from what it was several years ago. And it does, I think, really boil back down to, I think a lot of our college kids are fairly well prepared. We have, particularly with the partnership with DMAC, my kids personally use DMAC. It was a phenomenal benefit for them when they went on to post-school education. I've heard that from many parents, how thankful they were their kids were involved with those extra courses at DMAC. And then you go down, now we're seeing more kids go into the trade schools or a two-year school and then going to transition into a four-year. And then there's that workforce group. And they've been kind of, I don't want to say neglected, but we are putting more focus. And I think we need to continue to go there to get a kid. It's like, what can we offer so if a kid wants to get, say, a welding certificate, he can go straight into the workforce as a welder. They're critically short on some of those jobs. And I think one of the things we can do is try to probably be better about working with employers in the area, finding out what do you need in students, what are your gaps with some kids coming out, and then get that communicated into the classroom, kind of through our counselors to help them find that career path they want.
Thank you. And finally, Sal, what do you think can be done to more ready students for their post-high school career?
I got an IT degree, but I'm a truck driver. It is that, it's not having a degree that you have to do the job. You have to do the degree job. No. We have to start now, focus on the stuff of the students. If he's good or she's good at math, why not just try to put all that stuff there with the parents? So what do you think? You know, if it's science, so we have to focus on the stuff of the students. Well, no, everything is changing. So next 5-10 years, everything will be electric. So it's not anymore like it used to be. So we need really to focus before even they have a degree. We have to focus on that. So we know this student is good at this, so why not just push him in that way?
Thank you. And back to you, Sal. Under what circumstances would you support a mask mandate in the Carroll schools? Under what circumstances might you support a mask mandate for students and teachers, for example? Is there a certain positivity rate in the county that would need to be reached before you would support a mandate, or would you ever support a mandate?
Depends. It's on the situation. It all depends on the situation. If we need to mandate, so we have to make sure that everything that's forced us to mandate, it's already there. So we don't have any choice. We don't have choice, so we have to do it. But if we don't have to, in that case, we have some kids that underlying condition, stuff like that. So I don't want to send my kid to school and get any, what do you call it, disease. Or if my son has this kind of disease and send him to school and transmit to other kids. So this one has to come from the parents. We have to take responsibility about this stuff. So it's all depends on the situation. we mandate if we have to. If we don't have to, why would you do that?
Thank you. Dwayne, under what circumstances would you consider a mask mandate?
Well, it's interesting, we sat and had that question asked to us a year ago in this auditorium. And I would suspect that today, the opinions for the mask haven't changed, the opinions against the mask haven't changed. It was, and thank you for being very civil in this tonight. That was a little bit of a rough meeting. You know, a lot of things have changed. And I'll give you the history. In August at that meeting, I struggled. I didn't know how was I going to vote on this thing. There was so much we didn't know about what was coming out. The pandemic had hit there in March. We stopped school overnight on a Sunday night, and it was done. And then we got into that fall, and there wasn't a lot of COVID issues through that summer. But as we got into the fall, we knew what was starting to happen. I ended up voting for the mask mandate then only because I wanted kids in school. I wanted them in the classroom. And it was shortly thereafter that then we had, if the mandate come down from the governor. Things are different today. We're not quarantining kids like we did last year. I don't know why that is. If it was so important last year, why aren't they quarantining kids this year? Well, obviously they don't see the need for it. So my position today is that I would not overreach unless, like say, the governor, we don't have a mask mandate. I would not vote for a mask mandate today. If a governor is brought down to us from that situation, obviously then yes, we're going to be in compliance with those guidelines. It is still a recommendation to wear.
Thank you. And Kristen, any circumstances that would exist where you would support a mask mandate?
I think that, like right now, I don't see that it's an issue that we really are discussing. At the last couple board meetings, we have spent 0 minutes talking about masks, so I don't think that it's something that is an issue right now. So I would say just to leave it as it is because it's working just fine. But I also will say that, and I've answered this about 500 times in emails and text messages, but I won't say that I will never, ever vote against a mask mandate because if it came down to the kids not going to school or wearing a mask, I don't want my child home again. I mean, I love them to death, but I do not want them home again. I do not want it impeding their education to be at home with me instead of at school with their great teachers. So they need to be in school. If that means that they would have to wear a mask, then at that moment, that's when I would vote for that mask. But I do not think that it's going to come up.
Thank you. And Jen, any circumstances that would exist where you would support a mask mandate?
You know, last year was very challenging as a school district. We were forced to implement the mask mandate because of the state's ridiculous quarantine rules. And however, those rules have changed, and now we have a law. And I will stand firm that I am for parent choice. These are medical decisions that parents should be responsible for making for their children. And government and schools should not be making those decisions.
Thank you. And back to you with this question. We've seen in news reports where there have been heated discussions at school board meetings, the most sensationalized among those being where members of the public are ejected or they make threats against the board. How can you as an individual school board member ensure that people can freely voice their opinion but maintain order and civility so the business of the board can be conducted?
Yes, our society has definitely changed in the last year. I believe everyone should have a voice and be able to speak at school board meetings. We've always encouraged parents. We have always encouraged parents to come, but seldom see many, or we have the dedicated few that we see a lot. I'm concerned about the feds pushing the label parents as domestic terrorists. We need to be open and willing to listen to all viewpoints. And we might not always agree, but we need to listen. I've been called, since I've been on the board for 8 years, by at least 100 parents and staff members throughout my 8 years. And even though we might not agree, I always listen. And it's important to listen. These are these parents' kids. And as a parent, I want the choice, and I want our school boards to be listening to me as a parent too. So I always encourage parents to come. I think you can always have civil dialogue, and just because they come and voice an opposite opinion of yourself or maybe the board doesn't mean that they're a terrorist or they're a bad person. They're just being an advocate for their child.
Thank you. And Kristen, how can you as an individual school board member ensure people can freely voice their opinion but maintain order and civility so the business of the board can be conducted?
I mean, I also think that the lines of communication need to be open, and I think that it's also helpful when somebody does ask you a question via email or text message that you respond to that. And I personally have had experience where I haven't always gotten a response back, so I feel like that communication needs to go both ways, and that would also help alleviate some of the anger that goes along with that and behind that. I also think that we really need to take out the language of the politics and just make this about education, and we're here for your kids, and you're here for the teachers, and you're here for the parents. Like, this should not be about conservative views and liberal views and everything that has brought up. It should just be that I'm here for your parents, I'm here for the kids, I'm here for the teachers. If you have an issue, I would love to hear about it. I'm open and willing to listen to views, and I will bring those views to the board, have an educated discussion on it, and then we will talk about it more and try to come up with a good solution for it.
Thank you. And Dwayne, you touched on this in one of your answers a little bit before about the civility at a meeting. How will you, as a board member, ensure that people's voices are heard?
Well, first of all, we want all voices to be heard. You can go into the website under the district office, under school board, our Board of Education. All of our phone numbers are there, our emails are there. I've always welcomed phone calls from people that had issues, concerns. If I disagree with them, that's fine. I love having good conversations. You know, as far as I want everybody to feel you can come to the board. You should be able to come to any board member, whether it's a student, a staff, or a public citizen, to come to us with a concern. We're there. We're here to listen. We're here to represent you. We're here to kind of manage this district. And, you know, schools are a very emotional issue. I haven't always been able to get back to every text I got. I'll give you an example. On the mask mandate, I got 50 to 60 of them within about 10 hours of telling an individual, this is where I think I'm going to be at. And of course, all the texts were in the opposite, on the opposite side, which was great and fine, but in that case, it was very hard to reply to all of them. I do try to respond to as many of these as I can. I notice a lot of folks have emailed me. I try to get back and reply emails back to them. The other thing on the order and the stability is in the boardroom, for people to understand that when there is a public forum, that is your ability to speak. The board doesn't take action, and we need to do a good job of explaining that, especially when you got something that's a little controversial or kind of a heated issue going on.
Thank you. And Sal, how will you as an individual school board member ensure people can freely voice their opinion but maintain order and civility?
We have to have an open and honest conversation and fight the misinformation. That's what's killing us. Someone says it's true, it's not true. You have to find out exactly what's going on. Don't just conclude because I hear somebody. Try to find both ways. Which one is true? That's up to you. But you have to find both ways. Listen to A and B. Then you'll get the solution. But if you just listen to A, if A is wrong, you're on the path wrong. So we have to listen. And also parents have to be patient. We parents will have to be patient. There are members trying to do their best, to satisfy everybody. And we can't satisfy everybody at the same time. So we have sometimes sit back, yeah, that's fine, okay, next time. Go with the flow sometimes. We don't have to fight. There's no need to fight about it. It's good. We all want the best for our kids.
Thank you. And back to you, Sal, with this question. The Carroll community prides itself on having two great school systems in town, and it's something that we've cited in business recruitment and in worker recruitment campaigns. What steps would you take to ensure a positive working relationship between the public school system and Kemper?
I don't have any, I don't know stuff like that. I heard it, but I don't know stuff like that. But if I have, we have to talk. We have to talk. We have to go search the problem, where it started. It's not just, listen, people are different. People have different opinions. People want the best for themselves, sometimes for the rest of the people. But it always comes to what is best for the community, not just Kemper or public, what is best for all of us. Not just, because I don't go deep that side. I'm sorry.
Thank you. And Dwayne, again, we have these two great school systems here in Carroll. What steps can the board, or would you take as a board member, do to ensure a positive working relationship between the public school and Kemper?
Well, we got two great examples of that, where we had to work together as a community. That was when we passed the ISL, Instructional Support Levy. That was in 2014, and then we passed the stadium referendum. The stadium had failed, I don't know how many times, several times. And it took a joint effort of working with both schools, both athletic directors, both boards, community members. It was a community involvement. The other thing, we do share some sports, and we share obviously the busing and things like that. I feel we have from the administrative office a good relationship with our Kemper friends. I do see that as a very good school. I do see that as a very positive benefit for the community. We've had board members, and currently do, that have children that go to Kemper. They're on our board. They've been great contributors to our board. I've never felt threatened by that. They've been good. It's been a blessing to have them on and serve with us and share concerns from their side of things, and that has been good. The best thing we can do is just keep open communication. You know what? We can have Carroll Pride. They can have Kemper Pride. But together, let's have Carroll High School Pride. We want to have a Carroll Community Pride too. And I almost feel like that should trump over some of the school pride that we have, because then we can work together, and keep really two good, strong schools in place, so that people looking to move someplace will think Iowa's a great place to be here in Carroll.
Thank you. Kristen, what steps would you take to ensure a positive working relationship between the two schools?
So this question was asked a little bit at the Rotary one the other day, and it just made my brain start thinking. So I obviously am not from Carroll, so it is a little harder for me to understand why there's such a divide between the two schools, because to me they're both great. So, our family goes and supports Kemper when Carroll's not playing, and the kids all know my kids, which really the whole town does, but they all know them, and we've had experiences where the Kemper kids have allowed Tyson to score touchdowns, and they enjoy that just as much as the Carroll kids do, and we've had great experiences with the Kemper kids, including our kids, and I talked about the Kemper night breakfast that they used to do with the two booster clubs that isn't happening anymore. And I think that was a really good community thing that we did, that I think we should get back to doing and just kind of work on that. I know that the stadium, although it did get passed, there were a lot of hurt feelings that felt like that was going to be passed as a neutral field, and then it didn't end up being neutral. So I think there's some things that we need to tie up with that, move forward, and just try to get that relationship rebuilt.
Thank you. And Jen, what steps would you take to ensure a positive relationship?
Well, I think we're really blessed that we have John Steffes and Casey Berlaw that work so well together. It's been a good working relationship. I feel that we do a great job partnering with them already with busing. You know, we have to come up with the busing schedules and work with them on that. Thank you. You know, we also set the calendar yearly. We have meetings with Kemper and Carroll together and Arweva to set the calendar together. We have joint sports like Dwayne said. We also have the dual enrollment courses that are at DMAC and here that both Carroll and Kemper kids can come to. So there's a lot of partnerships there that just are unseen. I was sad to hear at the Rotary that they had canceled the Tiger Nights, I think it was called Pancake Breakfast. I think those are good bonding times because, to be frank, it's not the kids that don't have that have problems. It's mostly the adults. The kids play together, they're friends. There's not any issues. I think, unfortunately, social media has portrayed a divide or put a divide in it more than anything. And, of course, we can do more things to be better. I mean, Brian Bading came up with that one school or one community, two school event at the stadium. That was a wonderful event. So events like those.
Thank you. And back to you, Jen. With this question, I believe it was you that had made a comment about needing to retain quality staff. And I know that we've got, I think, a contract in the offing with the Education Association. So what is it that the school district needs to do to attract talent and retain talent among educators?
That's a hard question. You know, it's not just the educators, it's all staff. It's the parapros, it's the bus drivers, it's the whole team that we need to attract and retain. You know, some of my ideas that I would like to try is to start new student-teacher partnerships with more of the teaching colleges instead of the select few that we have. Because once we get them here in student teaching, we can show them the Carroll way, and they're learning from those master teachers, so they'll be a good addition to our community and our school. I think we need to work with colleges to identify and pursue good candidates early on when they're going into the education program. You know, have a line of communication, have them come out and visit us, show what Carroll has great things to offer. We need to sell it. Maybe even having sign-on bonuses that are tapered out 5 years so that we can retain them and get them used to being here and they want to stay. One thing that I was thinking about too is, you know, like many of us have said up here, it's hard to know what you want to do at 18 years old. And maybe we need to add a course at the high school, just an introductory course on education and what it's like to be an educator, so that they have ability to understand and learn and maybe go into the field and want to come back and give back to the community.
Thank you. Kristen, what do you think needs to be done to attract and retain talent?
I think that I noticed at one of the board meetings that they've started a mentor program with 2 really awesome teachers that are leading it. They have a lot of energy and love Carroll and everything about it. So I think that that program is doing really well, and I think that that will really help, and they can continue to grow that program. I think that showing them that they get the support that they need is a big thing, from support from everywhere, support from the board, support from their administration, support from everyone. I feel like, you know, teacher burnout is a really hard thing right now, and being a teacher is really hard. There's all the way down to preschool. There's behaviors that you would never believe that you would see in preschool. So it's a very hard job, and they need to feel supported and feel that they can get help when they need it. And I feel like to keep them around, if we can prove that we can do that for them and better than anybody else in the district, that maybe they would stay. And it's, like she said, it's across the board. Teachers, teacher associates are way underpaid. Bus drivers, everybody. We need to really work on this. This is a really big thing that's important.
Dwayne, how do we attract talent? How do we keep them once we get them here?
Well, this is probably one of the biggest issues we deal with, not just here, but everywhere. And for me, I really think it's going to go back to some of the, you got to have an environment in the school that is attractive, that people, first of all, don't want to leave. If people feel that where they are heard, they're cared for, and they're making an impact, they'll maybe work for a little less. We have to compete against, the urban areas, some of the urban schools. They do maybe offer, a little higher salaries. We also, from an insurance standpoint, offer a package for insurance that is not offered in most communities, schools. We have a phenomenally good coverage for insurance for these folks as far as what they pay out of pocket, and we probably undersell that. I also think we need to probably explore new methods in how we recruit teachers. In other words, kind of seek out new ways to get out into some of these communities that could be larger, they're a little further away, where some teachers are looking to have a better quality of life. I mean, we are a very safe community. We're a wonderful community to be in. And it gets back to selling Carroll and the school district being a leg under that. What a great community that we have here. We have a critical shortage right now on bus drivers. I don't know what the fix is for that. We can talk pay all the day long. They're getting paid fairly well. Could it be better? Probably. But we need people. So it's one of those, please help us. If you got somebody that's bored out there, we would love to have them apply for some bus driver jobs. The other thing would be is exits. When people leave the district, understanding why they left our district, and then so we can respond to that appropriately.
Sal, what do you think can be done to attract quality staff and to keep those that we have?
We also support the academic, emotional, social needs, and the behavioral health. So, and we have to make sure the environment there is no worries that as parents, when you send your kids home to school, you see them until they come back home, and then after food, they'll go, next they go back to the teachers. So we have to have the confidence, the trust among the teacher, the parents, the members. So we have to make sure we create an environment that we all are enjoying. So when I say teacher, I'm so happy to see the teacher, even the teacher see the member or school, anyone. You see, we have to create a place that everyone is welcome. Let's just enjoy it as it is. It doesn't have to be money, because with the money we can return almost everybody. But if we don't have money, we have to make sure the situation is really good. Everybody's so happy. Oh, I have to go back there. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to try to get in another question before your final statement. So I ask you to be, I know, as complete yet as brief as possible, which I know is hard for me. But this has to do with the budget. If it came to the point where you have to cut the budget, what would you say is off limits? What would you absolutely not cut? And that question first to you, Sal.
My point, we don't have to cut. Unless we don't have to cut. We should increase. I don't say it. Why would you cut the budget for school? I don't see why we do that.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for being brief. Dwayne, what would be absolutely off limits to you if you needed to cut the budget?
Well, unfortunately, I've been there. In the first year on the board, the first board meeting, we were making cuts. And this really ties in with budgets and planning and proper planning. The way you avoid budget cuts is truly proper planning with the budgets. We haven't had one since. Our district is in good financial condition. We're in a good state. If you do get down and that, things can change if the supplemental state aid isn't where it needs to, and you get into that general, I'm talking the general fund here, which is what pays teacher salaries and that, 80% of our expenses in the general fund come from staff. The other 20% is your operating costs, the gas, the electricity, and so on and so forth. That 20% is pretty hard to cut because how do you not put gas in a bus? How do you turn the lights off? I mean, you can get rid of maybe printing some paper. You can eliminate some costs, but when you get into a hard cut, it unfortunately will hit staff. If that does happen, what you do is you go to the administration and they're going to put things in priority. Are there classes we don't need and so on and so forth? And they'll bring a recommendation to the board. It's the board's responsibility then to challenge those cuts. Are they necessary? Are there any other areas that we can watch for that we cannot cut? But again, we do a great job, I believe, of fiscally responding out there and looking ahead so we don't hopefully get in that situation of needing to cut budgets, particularly people.
Thank you. And Kristen, what would be off limits if it comes to budget cuts?
I honestly, being new, have not been able to really look at a budget, so I don't know what the budget looks like or could really fully understand all of the buckets of areas of money to be able to answer that question. But I would say I would ask the administration on where they think that a good spot would be to start and go from there, because I think they probably have a better understanding of where we would be able to do something like that.
Thank you. And Jen, for you, if it comes to budget cuts, what is sacred?
Dwayne and I walked into, these microphones don't like me, Dwayne and I walked into the board, our first meeting, having to look at $500,000 budget cuts, and they're not fun. Like Dwayne said, the general budget is, the general fund is made up about 80% of just salaries, and the rest is what we can buy for curriculum and all that other stuff. I was a strong advocate for keeping it away from the classrooms as much as possible, and I would still be a strong advocate to keep it away from the classrooms as much as possible. That is why I and a couple other board members pushed to run the ISL, which is the Instructional and Support Levy, and get that passed, because I didn't want 30-plus kids in the classroom. I didn't want to have to decide what courses to cut. And I pray that we are never in that situation again. We're lucky that Dr. Berla is very good at financial forecasting, and that the board has been very diligent at watching that carefully.
Thank you. And now we'll move to your closing statements. Of course, we all want to know why you are the best choice to help lead the school district, and I'm sure that's in your comments. And we'll start with you, Jen.
Well, I wish we had time for more academic questions. I really feel like we need to focus on academics moving forward and doing what's best for our kids and our community. We need experienced, I believe, conservative board members to help guide the district through this uncertain times. We need people that are advocates for our parents to make decisions for their own children. We also need to be progressive in watching what new curriculum and new courses that we can bring to the school to advance our kids. And that's what the focus needs to be on, is learning. And so I'm asking for your vote on November 2nd. And I'm open to any questions. If you had any questions that you did not get to ask or get answered, I am open to a phone call. My number, again, is on the website, or an email. I'd love to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. And Kristen, your closing statement.
I want to thank the CADC, I usually say the letters wrong, and the Chamber for doing this for us tonight. It was nice to be able to get some of my agenda and everything out there for everyone. I think that my experience is very unique and well-rounded, and with my kids and their special education background, I think that that is just unique enough that I have some experience there. And then with my summer camp, I work with teachers, teachers' associates, bus drivers, the kids obviously, the parents. They trust me to plan everything for them. They drop them off and leave them with me all day long. The community support that I get for that is amazing. We have the sports teams come and visit. We go on field trips. We use the ovens and everything at the school so that we can bake cookies and everything. So, I mean, it really is a well-rounded, I get lots of experience with just about everything in Carroll. And then my AEA background with the advocacy for the parents is unique, where I, problem solve with them. That's my job all day, is to try to find a happy medium with the parents in the school and find resources for them. I work with kids from 0 to 18 in that position, so I think that that is very beneficial to this. And then I just want to ask everyone for your vote on November 2nd.
Thank you. And Dwayne, your closing statement.
Yeah, I want to thank the Carroll Chamber and the CADC and KCIM for allowing a platform for you folks to hear from us. For those of you that came tonight, thank you for coming out on a rainy night. And those that are sitting at home on the radio or wherever, thank you for tuning in and listening to each of us this evening. I want to say, first of all, it's been a pleasure to serve on this board for 8 years. It's been, to me, I mean that it's been a real pleasure. And if I get elected, I'm going to continue to be an advocate, to listen to you. I will continue to put fiscal responsibility. I will watch fiscal responsibility within this district. Again, I'm very strong on wanting academics to be a high priority and a strong focus. We have some gaps we saw with the whole COVID and the kids missing school, and I know they're working very hard to fill those gaps, get those kids brought back up. And just finally, lastly, you know what, I have a long history in this district. I just really believe I can bring a perspective to what this district has been, the strength of the academics, the strength of the pride in the community, the pride in Carroll Tigers, and I just have a desire to help to continue that. So I just would ask each and every one of you to get out and vote by November 2nd if you haven't already, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And Sal, your closing statement.
If I got elected, for sure, I will have a common sense to face any issue we have. And the man we need is a communication. We have to communicate. We have to listen and understand to one another. There's no need to fight. There is no need to be angry for stuff that there is no need there. If there's no there, why would they there? They shouldn't be there. So we have to make sure that we listen to one another, understand one another. Not just listen, understand one another. Your point may be not mine, okay? So we have to get solution about this problem. Compromise, 50-50 is okay, then just 70 and 30. And we have to make sure we got it. Everybody be satisfied about this issue. And also the one that's really is disturbing me so much is the mental health. People just talk about adults, no, the kids. We have to start teaching them stuff like that, knowing what the problem is. 20 years back is different from now. Everything changes. Nowadays, kids are really smarter than we are back then. So, smartphone now, you give it to 5 years old. Yeah, me, I have to think 10 minutes, 20 minutes before I get it. Right away, you get it. I'm asking you to vote for me, and I will make you proud. I'm a hard workman. I get things done when they have to be done. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to all the candidates for your thoughtful answers tonight. Thanks to everyone who attended here. Dwayne stole a little bit of my script. Those of you that are listening at home, and everyone that did submit questions in advance, any of those who submitted, I don't think we had any questions submitted in person tonight. Thank you to Carroll Broadcasting. Thanks to Hubert Hageman for keeping time. Thanks to Matt for vetting the questions and helping round this all up. The Chamber, and thank you also to the Chamber of Commerce and CADC's Legislative Committee. Aside from me, John Brocklesby, Hubert Hageman, Mike Pogge Weaver, Jean Ludwig, Trish Roberts, Kathy Steffes, and Ed Smith. And we did have a full list of questions tonight. There were several that I tried to summarize into a single question, and I apologize if we didn't get to your question. All of them were worthy. Unfortunately, we only had an hour tonight, and as you heard some of the candidates say that they're willing to answer questions if you have them. Thank you all for coming and listening to KCIM. Please remember to vote on Tuesday, November 2nd. If you have an absentee ballot, you need to take that to the courthouse. Don't mail it. You can still vote absentee up through Monday, or you can bring your absentee ballot to your polling place, but please do get out and vote. Thank you.